Bermuda.
Bermuda, Table of Contents.
All about Bermuda, with visiting and touring information, geography, history, attractions, and other points of interest.
Dr. Sydney Soclof. Dr. Sydney22@gmail.com. 2023. Narration by Dr. Sydney Soclof.
Zoe Phonemes.
And Nathan Coltove. For a complete discussion of YouTube navigation, please go to tiny.1/ytnavigator.
Bermuda.
Mark Twain said, "You can go to heaven if you want. I'd rather stay in Bermuda." He spent almost every winter during the last decade of his life on Bermuda, enjoying the warm, sunny days and the calm, easy pace.
Bermuda is officially the Bermuda Islands or the Somers Isles. It is a self-governing British overseas territory in the western North Atlantic Ocean. It is the oldest and most populous remaining British overseas territory, settled by England in 1609, a century before the Acts of Union created the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Where is Bermuda? Bermuda is far off in the Atlantic Ocean, about 650 miles from the eastern coast of the United States.
Bermuda is an archipelago of 7 main islands, and about 170 additional named islets and rocks in the North Atlantic Ocean.
Bermuda is 650 miles, 1,050 kilometers, east of the nearest landmass, which is Cape Hatteras, North Carolina.
Bermuda is neither geologically nor spatially associated with the Caribbean islands, which are more than 800 miles, 1,300 kilometers, to the south and southwest.
Here is a satellite view of the region, showing the isolation of Bermuda from other places. The Bermuda Islands consist of approximately 150 small islands, islets, and rocks, of which about 20 are inhabited. These closely spaced islands are part of the remnants of the rim of an extinct volcano. The Bermuda archipelago is about 24 miles, 40 kilometers, long and averages less than 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers, in width. The main islands are clustered together in the shape of a fishhook and are connected by bridges.
Hail the principal islands of Bermuda. The largest island is called Bermuda Island, or Main Island, and has the capital city of Hamilton. The main island is 14 miles, 22.5 kilometers long and only 1 mile wide.
Ireland Island is home to the Royal Dockyard and King's Wharf, where the ship will dock. The largest town of St. George's is on St. George's Island, and the Bermuda International Airport is on St. David's Island.
The highest point is the peak on Main Island, at only 259 feet or 79 meters.
Here are the principal towns of Bermuda. There are 2 incorporated municipalities in Bermuda, the city of Hamilton and the town of St. George's. The total population of the islands is 68,000. The capital and main port is Hamilton on the Main Island, or Bermuda Island, with a population of 1,600. St. George's with a population of 1,650 is just slightly larger.
Bermuda is divided into various parishes, in which there are some localities called villages, such as Flats Village, Tuckes Town and Somerset Village.
Distances are short. From King's Wharf at the Royal Naval Dockyard to Hamilton is just 3.4 miles, or 5.4 kilometers. From King's Wharf at the Royal Naval Dockyard to St. George's is 10 miles, or 16 kilometers.
Bermuda has a subtropical climate, beaches with pink sand, and a deep blue ocean.
Bermuda enjoys one of the highest per capita incomes in the world, having successfully exploited its location by providing financial services for international firms and luxury tourist facilities for 400,000 visitors annually.
Bermuda has a highly affluent economy, with a large financial sector and tourism industry. Bermuda has the fourth highest GDP per capita in the world, and 50% higher than that of the United States.
Tourism is Bermuda's second largest industry, accounting for an estimated 28% of GDP. The islands attract over 1/2 million visitors annually, of whom more than 80% are from the United States. Other significant sources of visitors are Canada and the United Kingdom. Tourists arrive either by cruise ship or by air at Bermuda International Airport, the only airport on the island. Bermuda. The beauty of it all.
An atoll is a ring-like coral island and reef that nearly, entirely, encloses a lagoon.
Hey Doc. Bermuda is way out by itself in the ocean. Where did it come from? She had to ask. Now we're in for a bunch of that boring geology stuff.
Here is Bermuda, shaped like a fishhook.
The islands that make up Bermuda are just the above-the-sea portion of a very large volcanic crater, most of which is underwater.
Bermuda is the remnant of the crater of an ancient volcano. Bermuda is part of the rim of a volcano crater, most of which is just below sea level.
Here is the rim of the volcano crater. Much of the rim is slightly below sea level in the form of a reef of volcanic rock capped by coral formations, and this all encloses a lagoon. The area in red is the portion of the crater rim that is covered by the coral reef formations.
This is a cross-section of the Bermuda Atoll. The depth of the lagoon and terraces offshore from the islands is only about 75 feet, or 25 meters.
Bermuda is one of the farthest north coral reef areas in the world. Note the great concentration of coral reefs in the South Pacific and, to a lesser extent, in the Caribbean. There is the Bermuda Pedestal, and surrounding areas of very shallow water.
Very deep within the earth is extremely hot molten material called magma.
This liquid magma is under extremely high pressure and flows up to the surface of the earth through cracks or weak spots in the earth's crust.
Closer to the very center of the earth is a spherical core under such extremely high pressure that it remains solid. This is the inner core of the earth, made of nickel and iron.
The liquid magma is the outer core of the earth. Further out is the mantle, a hot semi-liquid layer. On the earth's surface is the solid crust, part of which is land and most is covered by the oceans.
Hot plumes of the molten magma spurt up through cracks in the earth's crust
and form volcanoes. These volcanoes occur on land, but even more often deep under the oceans, where they usually escape any notice at all. This shows a plume of molten magma going up through a crack or weak spot in the mantle and crust of the earth. When the magma reaches the surface, it is now called lava. The lava flow that results cools and solidifies on the ocean floor, forming a submarine mountain.
This shows the resulting submarine mountain after this volcano has become dormant.
In this case, the volcano rises above the sea level, forming an island. This shows the resulting island after this volcano has become dormant.
The collapse of the magma underneath the volcano often results in a crater.
A good example of a collapsed magma chamber underneath the volcano is the crater of Diamond Head on Oahu, one of the most famous landmarks of the Hawaiian Islands.
Another good example is Crater Lake in Oregon.
In some cases, the crater may drop below sea level, forming a lagoon.
Some portions of the crater may be just a short distance below the sea level, forming a reef.
A good example of this is the Greek Aegean island called Santorini, which is the rim of the crater of an extinct volcano.
If the water is shallow enough and the temperature is warm enough, coral may grow, forming a coral reef.
Besides Bermuda, there are a number of islands of volcanic origin in the Atlantic Ocean. These include the Azores, Madeira, the Canary Islands, Iceland, Cape Verde Islands, Ascension, and St. Helena. The history of Bermuda.
Juan de Bermudez was a Spanish navigator of the 16th century. In 1505, while sailing back to Spain from a provisioning voyage to Hispaniola on the ship La Garza, he discovered Bermuda, which was later named after him.
Bermudez and Gonzalo Fernández de Oviedo ventured to Bermuda in 1515, with the intention of leaving a breeding stock of hogs on the island, as a future stock of fresh meat, for passing ships. However, the inclement weather prevented them from landing.
Both Spanish and Portuguese ships used the islands as a replenishment spot for fresh meat and water. But legends of spirits and devils are now thought to have stemmed only from the callings of raucous birds, and of perpetual storm-wrecked conditions. Most early visitors arrived under such conditions, and treacherous reefs kept them from attempting any permanent settlement on the of devils. There are many shipwrecks around the Bermuda Atoll that bear witness to these treacherous reefs, and now provide many diving opportunities.
For the next century, the island is believed to have been visited frequently, but not permanently settled. The first two British colonies in Virginia had failed, and a more determined effort was initiated by King James I of England, who granted a royal charter to the Virginia Company. The Royal Charter of Virginia extended from sea to sea. In 1609, a flotilla of ships left England under the company's admiral, Sir George Somers, to relieve the colony of Jamestown, settled 2 years before. Somers had previous experience sailing with both Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh.
The fleet was caught in a hurricane, and Somers' flagship, the Sea Venture, was separated and began to founder. When the reefs to the east of Bermuda were spotted, the ship was deliberately driven on them to prevent its sinking, thereby saving all aboard 150 sailors and settlers, and 1 dog.
Shown here are the moments after the ship was lodged between 2 rocks on the reef off the coast of Bermuda on July 28, 1609. The passengers are heading to shore in the 2 boats. The passengers returned over the next few days and stripped the ship of all usable material.
All passengers and crew of the Sea Venture safely made it to shore in Bermuda. While being thankful for their safe delivery, they are unaware of the historical significance of their shipwreck, being in possession of a new territory. Following their shipwreck, the passengers and crew of the Sea Venture set up an encampment primarily of palmetto-thatched huts. In the 10 months after the shipwreck, the survivors built 2 ships to enable them to continue the voyage to Virginia. They eventually departed on May 10, 1610, leaving 3 people behind to secure the island.
Among the survivors was John Rolfe, who left a wife and child buried in Bermuda. but in Jamestown would marry Pocahontas, a daughter of Powhatan.
Intentional settlement of Bermuda began with the arrival of the ship Plough, in 1612. The events of the shipwreck are memorialized on the coat of arms of Bermuda. It depicts a red lion holding a shield that has a depiction of a wrecked ship upon it. The red lion is a symbol of England and alludes to Bermuda's relationship with the country.
The wrecked ship is the Sea Venture, the flagship of the Virginia Company that was deliberately driven onto the reefs of Bermuda by Admiral Sir George Somers in 1609, to prevent it from foundering in a storm. All aboard survived, resulting in the settlement of the island.
The Latin motto under the coat of arms, Quo Fata Ferent, means whither the fates carry us. After reaching England, the reports of the survivors of the Sea Venture aroused great interest in Bermuda. Accounts were published by 2 survivors.
Note that here Bermuda is also called the Isle of Devils.
William Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, is thought to have been inspired by the story of the shipwreck of the Sea Venture.
The island was claimed by the English crown, and the charter of the Virginia Company was officially extended to include it in 1612.
The close ties with Virginia were commemorated even after Bermuda's separation by reference to the archipelago in many Virginian place names, such as Bermuda City and Bermuda Hundred. The first British coins in America were struck in Bermuda. In 1615, the colony was passed to a new company, the Somers Isles Company. The Somers Isles remains an official name for the colony.
In the 17th century, the Somers Isles Company suppressed shipbuilding, as it needed Bermudians to farm to generate income from the land. This led to the islanders demanding and receiving the revocation of the company's charter in 1684, and the company was dissolved.
In the 18th century, after the dissolution of the Somers Oil Company, Bermudians rapidly abandoned agriculture for shipbuilding, replanting farmland with the native juniper, Juniperus bermudiana, also called Bermuda cedar, trees that grew thickly over the whole island. Crawl Point on Bermuda was a major shipbuilding center, with several ships being under construction at the same time in its heyday.
Bermudians deforested their landscape to begin the salt trade that would become the world's largest and remain the cornerstone of Bermuda's economy for the next century.
Bermudian sailors would turn their hands to far more trades than supplying salt. However, whaling, privateering, and the merchant trade were all pursued vigorously. Vessels would sail the normal shipping routes, but had to engage an enemy vessel no matter the size or strength, and as a result many ships were destroyed.
This is the Bermuda Gazette of 1796, calling for privateering against Spain and its allies, and with advertisements for crew for 2 privateer vessels.
The Bermuda sloop became highly regarded for its speed and maneuverability.
In fact, it was a Bermuda sloop, the HMS Pickle, one of the fastest vessels in the Royal Navy, that brought the news of the victory at Trafalgar and the death of Admiral Nelson in 1805 back to England.
After the American Revolution, the Royal Navy began improving the harbors and built the large Dockyard on Ireland Island as its principal naval base, guarding the western Atlantic Ocean shipping lanes.
During the War of 1812, the British attacks on Washington, D.C. and the Chesapeake, that would result in the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner, we planned and launched from Bermuda, the Royal Navy's North American station.
It was here that the British soldiers assembled before being sent to attack Baltimore and Washington.
In 1816, Bermuda's Royal Naval Dockyard was fortified against possible U.S. attacks by James Arnold, the son of famed U.S. trader Benedict Arnold.
Today, the Maritime Museum occupies the keep of the Royal Naval Dockyard, including the Commissioner's House, and exhibits artifacts of the base's military history.
As a result of Bermuda's proximity to the southeastern U.S. coast, it was regularly used by Confederate States blockade runners during the American Civil War to evade Union naval vessels and bring desperately needed war goods to the South from England.
The Old Globe Hotel in St. George's was a center of intrigue for Confederate agents, and is one of the oldest structures on the island. It is open to the public and is now home to Bermuda's Confederate Museum.
During World War II, Bermuda became a significant U.S. military site because of its location in the Atlantic Ocean. In 1941, the U.S. signed a Lend-Lease agreement with the U.K. giving the British surplus U.S. Navy destroyers in exchange for 99-year lease rights to establish naval and air bases in Bermuda.
The bases consisted of land largely reclaimed from the sea. The U.S. Naval Air Station was on St. David's Island, while the U.S. Naval Air Station Annex was at the western end of the island.
Both bases were closed in September 1995, as were British and Canadian bases, and the lands were formally returned to the government of Bermuda in 2002.
Because of their strategic location, the Bermuda Islands formerly served as the winter naval station for both the British North Atlantic and West Indian squadrons. From 1941 to 1995, sites on the islands were leased to the United States for naval and air bases. Naval Air Station Bermuda Kindley Field was located on St. David's Island, Bermuda from 1970 to 1995. It is currently the site of Bermuda International Airport.
The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act enacted by the United States against its trading partners in 1930 cut off Bermuda's once thriving agricultural export trade, primarily fresh vegetables to the U.S. This spurred Bermuda to develop its tourist industry, which is second behind international business in terms of economic importance to the island.
Executive authority in Bermuda is vested in the monarch and is exercised on his behalf by the governor. The governor is appointed by the king on the advice of the British government. Defense and foreign affairs remain the responsibility of the United Kingdom and must approve any changes to the Constitution of Bermuda.
Bermuda now exists as an overseas territory of Britain, but it is the oldest British colony in 1620. A royal assent granted Bermuda limited self-governance, thus making the Parliament of Bermuda the fifth oldest in the world, behind only the Parliament of the United Kingdom, the Tynwald of the Isle of Man, the Althing of Iceland, and the Sejm of the Republic of Poland. Of these, it is the only one to have met continuously as a legislature since its inception through to today.
This is the King's Wharf
and the Royal Naval Dockyard. Bermuda. The King's Wharf, better known as the Royal Naval Dockyard, is located on Ireland Island, on the westernmost tip of Bermuda.
Here is another view of the Royal Naval Dockyard.
Work began on this massive complex in 1809, shortly after the Napoleonic Wars. Built by slave and convict labor, it was to be a strategic British military outpost. Still, it closed in 1951 when the U.S. military established a military presence on the island with 2 bases.
Since then, the 75-acre site has been renovated to accommodate shops, restaurants, museums, a movie theater, the Arts Center on the Bermuda Craft Market. King's Wharf is Bermuda's third port, and the port of choice for bigger ships. It is often referred to as the West End or the Royal Naval Dockyard. It was built for the British Navy between 1814 and 1863 by thousands of convicts from prison ships. It was to serve as a base to launch a raid on Washington, D.C., and it was once called Gibraltar of the West. The Georgian-style fort later served as a North Atlantic naval base during both World Wars.
The Royal Naval Dockyard was finally abandoned in 1951 and has been transformed into Bermuda's most popular visito attraction.
As a tourist attraction, the Royal Naval Dockyard gives visitors plenty to do and see, including the Bermuda Maritime Museum, the Arts Center and the Bermuda Craft Market. The Royal Naval Dockyard is within walking distance and easily accessible from the cruise ship pier. Ferries run to and from Dockyard, Paget, Warwick, Somerset, Hamilton, all year, and to St. George's, April to October, as do buses.
Be careful. Being a former British colony, cars still drive on the left. However, rental cars are not available on the island, as only residents are permitted to drive cars.
Visitor information centers are close by on the wharf and in the dockyard. The Visitor Service Bureau near the ferry landing is where to get tokens, transportation passes for buses, maps and other information.
At King's Wharf, taxis are plentiful, but expensive. Taxi stands are located next to the craft market near the Maritime Museum, in front of the Clock Tower Mall and at the cruise ship terminal.
Bermuda's ferries offer a good alternative to a bus ride to the South Shore, Royal Naval Dockyard and West End of the island.
Ferries run between Hamilton and Paget, Warwick, Somerset and the Royal Naval Dockyard. You can go out on the ferry and return by bus, or vice versa.
These are the 4 ferry routes. All of them go from or to Hamilton.
This shows the location of the ferry wharf. These are the prices of the ferries. The Clock Tower Shopping Mall is a covered mall that houses a collection of boutiques and branch stores located on Clock Tower Parade, a 5-minute walk from the cruise dock.
This shows the location of the Clock Tower Mall.
In the Clock Tower Shopping Mall there are British goods, such as porcelain, fine china and crystal, silverware and fine tableware. Imports from Great Britain and Ireland, such as Shetland and Cashmere sweaters, Harris tweed jackets and Scottish woolen goods.
Local crafts can be purchased at the craft market in the Old Cooperage, between Dockyard Terrace and Maritime Lane. The craft market features Bermuda cedar work, candle making, jewelry making, pottery, straw bags, banana dolls and many other crafts.
This shows the location of the Bermuda Craft Market. The Old Cooperage is a former barrel-making factory built in 1831, and now home to the Bermuda Craft Market. There are stands displaying the works of local craftspeople, including wood carvings and miniatures.
The Bermuda Arts Center has 4 studios housing working artists. An extensive array of artistic goods is on sale. The Dockyard Glassworks has beautiful gift items made from glass.
Items are made on site in a 2,000-degree furnace.
This shows the location of the Dockyard Glassworks. The Bermuda Maritime Museum has recovered treasures from the island's shipwrecks. The Commissioner's House in the museum was built in the early 1800s.
This shows the location of the Bermuda Maritime Museum.
The Commissioner's House is the main building of the Bermuda Maritime Museum. Exhibits in the Bermuda Maritime Museum include antique maps and coins as well as on slavery.
This is a map of the Bermuda Maritime Museum.
The Bermuda National Museum has now been included as part of the Maritime Museum. Dolphin Quest offers a 30-minute swim with Atlantic bottlenose dolphins.
This shows the location of the Dolphin Quest, just below the Maritime Museum, and also Snorkel Park nearby.
Also just below the Maritime Museum is the Snorkel Park. A main attraction there is the Sea Scooter Safari, an electric scooter ride on the water.
This shows the location of the Snorkel Park. Bermuda Train Trolley Tours are 60-minute narrative trolley tours of Hamilton and the Dockyard. The Dockyard too highlights such areas as Lagoon Park, the Royal Naval Cemetery, the Clock Tower Building, Somerset Village, and the Bermuda Maritime Museum.
The Hamilton Tour highlights all aspects of the city of Hamilton, including the City Hall, House of Parliament, the Bermuda Cathedral, the renowned bird cage, Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute, and the Botanical Gardens, Hamilton. This shows the location of Hamilton.
Hamilton is the capital of Bermuda. Although there is a parish of the same name, the city of Hamilton is in the parish of Pembroke.
The city is named after Sir Henry Hamilton, governor from 1778 to 1794. Henry Hamilton was an Irish-born official of the British Empire. He was captured during the American Revolutionary War while serving as the lieutenant governor at the British post of Fort Detroit.
Hamilton's history began in 1790, when the Bermuda government set aside land for its future seat, and was officially incorporated in 1793 by an Act of Parliament. The colony's capital relocated to Hamilton from St. George's in 1815. This is Hamilton Harbor. The town of Hamilton became a city with the erection of the Hamilton Cathedral, Church of England, in 1897. As the Mother Anglican Church in Bermuda, it is known not only for its religious, historical, and social importance, but also for its beautiful architecture. Bermuda City Hall is also home to the Bermuda National Gallery and the Bermuda Society of Arts, which displays and sells creative artwork like paintings, sculptures and photographs of local artists.
In spite of being the administrative capital of Bermuda, Hamilton has a permanent population of only 1,000. Hamilton is the only incorporated city in Bermuda, but is actually smaller than the historic town of St. George's.
Today, the city overlooking Hamilton Harbor is primarily a business district, with few structures other than office buildings and shops.
The city of Hamilton had a building limit of no buildings that may obscure the cathedral. But in recent months buildings have been planned, and areas have started construction on buildings as high as 10 stories in the city.
This is Sessions House, the home of Bermuda's Parliament. Fort Hamilton was built in the 1870s to protect the Royal Naval Dockyard. It now provides spectacular views of the city of Hamilton and its harbor.
This is the home of the Bermuda Historical Society. This is Front Street in Hamilton.
The Bottom Peep is a glass-bottom boat that allows you to see shipwrecks as well as plenty of coral reefs, brain coral and parrotfish.
The Bottom Peeper departs from Point Pleasant, very close to the ferry terminal in Hamilton.
The Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute is a major attraction that opened in 1997 in Hamilton. The purpose of the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute is to enhance understanding of the mysteries of the ocean, including its diverse marine life, corals, etc., as well as knowledge about the historic shipwrecks of Bermuda. This is done through a series of artifacts and exhibits, many of them interactive.
St. George's.
St. George's was the first permanent settlement on the islands of Bermuda, and was the third successful English settlement in the Americas, after St. John's, Newfoundland, and Jamestown, Virginia. Today, it is the oldest continuously inhabited English settlement in the New World. This shows the location of St. George's. This small town has historical importance. Not only did it play a pivotal role in Bermuda's history, it was the capital until 1815, but it also helped shape that of the United States as well.
10,000 Bermudians emigrated, primarily to Virginia and other colonies, before U.S. independence closed the door.
Bermudians also may have prolonged the American Civil War by ferrying supplies and munitions to the desperate Confederates, a trade that was based in St. George's. Today, St. George's remains basically untouched by the economic boom that has shaped the capital, Hamilton.
Most of its buildings were constructed in the 17th to 19th centuries, and the authorities have made a deliberate effort both to prevent development and to hide any signs of later changes.
For example, power and telephone lines are underground, and the street lighting has a period style. Narrow streets such as Barber's Alley and Aunt Peggy's Lane remain just as they were centuries ago.
St. Peter's Church is the oldest Anglican church in the Western Hemisphere. There are many historical sites such as the Old State House, the first stone building in Bermuda, other than fortifications, built in 1620 to house Bermuda's Parliament, and today the oldest building on the island. The unfinished church, the old rectory, St. Peter's Church, the oldest Anglican church in the Western Hemisphere, the Tucker House, and the Bermuda National Trust Museum. St. George's is, nevertheless, a living town, and its historic buildings function not only as museums but also as houses, restaurants, pubs and shops. At its center lies King's Square, flanked by the Town Hall and the Visitors Service Bureau. Ordnance Island lies in St. George's Harbor, to the south of King's Square, and is reached by a small bridge. It holds a replica of the Deliverance, one of the two ships built by the shipwrecked settlers, and a bronze statue of their commander, Sir George Somers. This shows the location of the Ordnance Island and the Deliverance.
In 1996, St. George's was twinned with Lyme Regis in Dorset, England, which was the birthplace of Admiral Sir George Somers in 2000. St. George's, together with numerous surrounding fortifications, including the Castle Islands fortifications, was added to UNESCO's World Heritage List.
Stuart Hall, circa 1707, is one of the largest of St. George's early 18th century houses. This important property has been owned or rented during the last 3 centuries by some of the most prominent and influential families in Bermuda.
Today the property is owned by the Bermuda National Trust and is now the home of the Bermuda Perfumer, and was restored about 40 years ago.
Fort St. Catherine is a coastal artillery fort at the northeast tip of St. George's Island. The fort was used first by Bermudian militia and then by regular Royal Artillery units from 1612 into the 20th century. Today it houses a museum of Bermudian history.
This is a map of St. George's Parish on Bermuda.
Some other sites on Bermuda.
Just to the south of the Dockyard on Ireland Island is Somerset Bridge, a 17th-century bridge over to Somerset Island. It is the world's narrowest drawbridge with barely a 19-inch mast clearance.
Somerset Village is a postcard pretty village that might look familiar.
It was featured in the 1962 film, A Touch of Mink, with Cary Grant and Doris Day.
Somerset Village is only about 3 miles, or 5 kilometers from King's Wharf.
You can enjoy a short walk to Mangrove Bay from Hay. If you missed shopping at King's Wharf, there are a few front street shops here. Also on Somerset Island is the Scow Hill Fort and Park. It was built in the 1870s to protect the Royal Naval Dockyard because the British feared an attack from the U.S. There are commanding views of Ellie's Harbour and Great Sound from the ramparts.
This shows the location of Somerset Island and the Scar Hill Fort and Park.
Gibbs Hill Lighthouse is the oldest cast-iron lighthouse in the world.
There is a 185-step climb to the top for a panoramic view of Bermuda and its shoreline.
This shows the location of Gibbs Hill Lighthouse on Mine, or Bermuda, Island.
Flats Village is a small fishing village in Hamilton Parish, halfway between Hamilton City and the town of St. George's. Flats Village has beautiful pastel-colored houses and picturesque fishing areas. Spithead House on Harbour Road in Warwick was built by Hezekiah Frith. He is remembered locally for his hidden bounty from 2 stolen ships and the kidnapping of a French woman he hid from his wife. Local lore says they haunt the house.
The house was once the home of Eugene O'Neill. His daughter Una was born in it. Sir Noel Coward and Charlie Chaplin, after marrying Una.
The Crystal Cave is the most famous of Bermuda's many subterranean caverns.
The Crystal Caves have impressive stalactites and underground saltwater pools. This shows the location of the Crystal Caves.
The Bermuda Aquarium, Museum and Zoo focuses on showing oceanic island species and in conservation, education, and research related to these species. It contains an aquarium, a natural history museum, and a zoo.
The Bermuda Aquarium, Museum and Zoo is located in Flats Village.
The Bermuda Botanical Gardens has 36 acres of flowers, shrubs, and trees. The Botanical Gardens are in Paget Parish, a short drive from Hamilton.
This shows the location of the Bermuda Botanical Gardens, as well as the points of interest.
Bermuda is renowned for its pink sand beaches. Horseshoe Bay Beach has clear water and pink sand. It is located in Southampton. This shows the location of Bermuda's many beaches.
Although Bermuda's latitude is similar to that of Savannah, Georgia, it is warmer in winter and slightly cooler in summer.
Will it be hot? Or will it be very hot in Bermuda? Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Hamilton.
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Hamilton.
The only source of fresh water in Bermuda is rainfall, which is collected on roofs and catchments, or drawn from underground lenses and stored in tanks. Each dwelling usually has at least one of these tanks forming part of its foundation.
Here is the average monthly rainfall in inches throughout the year in Hamilton. The mild subtropical climate of Bermuda is due to the nearby Gulf Stream and to the westerly winds which carry the warm, humid air eastwards over Bermuda, helping to keep winter temperatures above freezing.
The climate is humid and, as a result, the summertime heat index can be high. even though mid-August temperatures rarely exceed 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
The money of Bermuda.
Legal tender is the Bermuda dollar, and equal in value to the U.S. dollar. U.S. currency is normally accepted in shops, restaurants, and hotels, but currency from Britain, Canada and the foreign countries is not. The Bermudian dollar is divided into 100 cents.
Bermudan notes carry the image of Queen Elizabeth II. The Bermuda Monetary Authority is the issuing authority for all banknotes and coins, as well as is responsible for the regulation of financial institutions. There is a permanent exhibition of Bermuda notes and coins at the Royal Naval Dockyard Museum. The industrial sector is small, and agriculture is severely limited by a lack of suitable land. About 80% of food needs are imported. International business contributes over 60% of Bermuda's economic output. Large numbers of leading international insurance companies are based in Bermuda, making the territory one of the world's largest reinsurance centers. Over 1,500 international companies are currently registered in Bermuda.
The Bermuda Stock Exchange, BSX, first established in 1971, is now the world's largest fully electronic offshore securities market, with over 400 securities valued in excess of $330 billion.
Vegetation is luxuriant on Bermuda, and includes the Bermuda cedar, bamboo, palm, pawpaw, and numerous flowering plants. Hedges of oleander and thickets of mangrove are characteristic features of the islands.
The L.F. Wade International Airport, BDA, formerly named Bermuda International Airport, is the only airport serving Bermuda. It is in the parish of St. George's, 10 miles, 16 kilometers, east of Hamilton. The airport serves about 1 million passengers annually.
Bermuda's culture is a mixture of the various sources of its population. However, little trace remains of the various Native American, Spanish Caribbean, African, Irish or Scots cultures that would have been evident in the 17th century, with Anglo-Saxon culture becoming dominant.
The culture of Bermuda reflects the heritage of its people, who are chiefly of African and European descent. A small percentage of Asians also live on the island.
Although Bermuda is an overseas territory of the United Kingdom, it also has strong historical links with the United States. On the one hand, Bermudians seem British in their customs, for example, playing cricket, driving on the left, and having Queen Elizabeth II on their banknotes. At the same time, a strong North American cultural influence is obvious. The currency is the dollar, on par with the U.S. dollar. Bermudians frequently watch television from the U.S., and Bermudian English shares many similarities with American English.
Dress in Bermuda, however, is distinct from either American or British styles. While in the US or Britain, shorts are considered casual dress, Bermuda shorts are considered to be formal attire in Bermuda, and are worn with a jacket and tie.
Also, despite the island's tropical climate, it is common for Bermudian women to wear heels and stockings, while men wear sports jackets and ties both day and night.
Anglicanism is the principal religion with 23% of the population. Other denominations are Roman Catholic 15%, African Methodist Episcopal 11%. Other Protestant 18%. Others 12%. Unaffiliated 6%. And none 14%.
The ethnic makeup of Bermuda is 55% black, 34% white, and 6.5% multiracial. A significant segment of the population, about 10%, is of Portuguese ancestry. This is the result of immigration from Portuguese islands, especially the Azores, during the past 160 years.
Recommended videos, Bermuda.
Recommended video, travel to Bermuda, 3 minutes. 15 seconds.
Recommended video, Bermuda, a monocle travel guide, 2 minutes. 49 seconds.
Recommended video, 16 things to do in Bermuda, top Bermuda attractions and activities, 11 minutes. 49 seconds.
Recommended video, top 10 things to do in Bermuda, 8 minutes. 1 second.
Recommended video, Bermuda, Island Paradise of the Atlantic Ocean, 43 minutes. 19 seconds.
Recommended video, 7 facts about Bermuda, 8 minutes. 44 seconds.
Bermuda, table of contents.
Thanks for watching. Please watch some more of my great videos.